Science Logic or one of those companies to monitor your RMX. This would allow you to go in and see that and where you enable those abilities. Hot backup, where I can actually set the RMX to have a hot standby backup if you really wanted, if you have a spare RMX laying around. Customize some of the display settings and some banner information that can come up as you log into the RMX. Now realize 90% of the users will never actually log into the RMX. They'll dial into it using video conferencing, but 90 or more % will never ever touch these pages, and they don't need to. What they want to do is be able to place their call. Think about when was the last time you logged into a PBX. You don't. You just use your phone, and you connect through the PBX, and that's kind of the same way an RMX is treated. RMX Secure Communications, whether we want to add certificates and make the communications more secure, and this is to and from the web page, not necessarily the calls themselves, and audible alarms if you want to set up alarms for the operators. And last but not least, I have my help screen. It just tells me a little bit about my RMX and what version of software I'm running. So that's our initial overview of the web page, and I think that kind of gets your feet wet as to what's out there. Next, we're going to start changing configurations. Now that we have the basic configuration set on the RMX, we're going to go in and tie ourselves to a gatekeeper. Remember, a gatekeeper has several capabilities, one of which is being able to do address resolution. The other one is bandwidth management. At this point, we just want to tie ourselves to the gatekeeper, so what we're going to do is go here to the IP network services. We're going to double click on that network service, and we're going to come down here to the tab right here that says gatekeeper. Notice it says off. What I'm going to do is turn around. I'm going to say specify, and in my situation, my primary gatekeeper's address is 233.8.10, and I'm going to register to it. And it's telling me it needs an alias list. What does that mean? Okay, failed to update, needs an alias list. Well, we need a way to distinguish this RMX from all other RMXs. So it needs to have a prefix. Now, that prefix in our situation, we're actually going to use the control at the last portion right up here of my RMX address. And that's just my way of doing it. It can be anything you want. It can be 80, 70, 60, 50. Anything you choose that meets your dialing plan. So at this point, I'm going to add 245, and I'm going to click OK. Now, there's one downside of this, and you're going to see it right here. It must reset the bridge. That takes about 4 to 5 minutes. So I'm going to click yes. And in many times when you do this, it's going to say wait for reset, and he's going to go off and do that change. And we're gonna just kind of pause the recording and wait till we get done, and then we'll go back and check. Okay, the RMX just came back up. As you can see, it's been about 3 to 5 minutes, thereabouts. Okay, so I'll put my password in again, and we'll sign back in. And first thing that we're going to see is that we have no errors, no system alerts. That's a very good thing. We're going to go down here to signaling monitor, and we're going to double click on it, and that field is that window is going to pop up. Okay, here it is. And I'm going to double click on it, and it's going to open up, and if I click on 323, it's going to say gatekeeper GK registered, and I have this registration to this gatekeeper at this IP address. So my registration to the gatekeeper worked successfully. That's a very good thing. So let's move on to the next item. Okay, now we want to go in and start explaining some things about how we set up and do conferences. One of the fundamental parts of a conference is the profile, conference profile. And how we get to that, let's get down there and look at it. We go down to the rarely used tab right down here, and we have conference profiles. You will see that from the factory we have some default profiles that come on every RMX as it's shipped from the factory. There's a factory video profile and a factory gateway profile. The quick video call we did at the overview, that actually used this default profile. Now what I want to do, and that profile is always there, you can always use it. We can double click on it and make changes to it. But I think rather than that, I think I want to create my own profile so I can set things up my own way. So I'm going to go up here to New Profile. I'm going to click on it, and it's going to open up a page. I'm going to move that page up just a little bit so it just about fits in my window. I'm going to give it a name, and I'm going to call it the Training Profile. Okay. The line rate at 384 is good, but I think I'm going to move it up to about 768 just to get a little better video quality. Routing name is the name you choose to give it. Oftentimes it's the same as the display name. The routing name with CMA version 5.5 is very important because that routing name must be exactly matched. If you don't specify a routing name, the system will put a routing name in for you. So I'm going to put one in Training Profile. I'm going to just match the other name. And rather than getting too deep in it, I'm just going to specify that name and start moving down. Video switched is whether we want to do full frame video conferencing. In other words, not continuous presence, not Hollywood squares where we have multiple people on the screen. So in this case, it's going to be just Hollywood squares. Operator conference, meaning do I want to have an operator involved in the conference? And I can. Let's see what some of the advanced features here are. One is encryption. We do fully support AES encryption. If I check that checkbox, that means encryption is mandatory. So that encryption is very good for medical, for financial. It's not sufficient for for typically government aspects. That's where the government will come in with KIV or KG devices and actually do the encryption using those and V.35 interfaces. This is actually encrypting the IP call itself. LPR, lost packet recovery. Do we want to try to handle bad packets and make it look better? I think the answer there is almost always yes. Auto terminate. Do we want this call to automatically terminate after a specific amount of time? If nobody's involved in the call, then certainly yes, that frees up the resources. Auto redial is kind of a handy tool in an education environment. Let's say you have 3 or 4 classrooms that you dialed into, and for some reason one of them hung up. Well, this could be set up so with auto redial where it will automatically call that classroom back. Gathering settings. This is a feature of, my understanding, a unique feature for Polycom, and we'll see it when we do a call where it actually shows you part of what's going on in the call. It allows you to put some information up for that meeting. The meeting name and all is dynamic, but you can have some fixed information like dial-in number, alternate audio dial-in number, and possibly help desk information down here. I'll just say help desk call X7777, and we'll just see that when the gathering phase comes up. Video quality. This is how I want to see my video quality. I can set the sharpness or motion. I normally leave it to sharpness, but you can certainly change it if you want. Auto set on the maximum resolution. In other words, even though I leave the door open at 768, somebody could try to call me at 1080p. Well, I can say don't negotiate the 1080p, only negotiate to a maximum of 720p. Now, as it turns out, at 768, the maximum he can ever do is 720p. But let's say we had the call rate set at 2 meg, and we only want people to come in at 720 as a maximum. This is where we would limit it. Video clarity, where we try to upscale the video coming in from typically older endpoints. Rarely hurts anything, it usually helps things. Auto brightness, this is where we try to normalize the brightness of all the systems. If you're using unknown endpoints, it may be necessary to do this, try to get some of the brightness up. Nowadays, with all the mobile devices, and oftentimes the lighting is not ideal for the mobile devices, this may be a help. It's going to have to be something that you try out and see in your environment. Content or H239 video, this is where we decide, is it going to be graphics, it's going to be high res, or possibly live video. Set the option appropriately, and also what the protocol to be used. By default, we do up to 264. Some older video conferencing systems out there in the industry can only handle 263. So you may need to go into your drop-down box and force 263. Normally, I'll just leave it set to the defaults. I have some modes here I can set for my video settings. Presentation mode says I'm going to be the presenter. While I see everybody in a matrix, they see me full screen. If someone else in the class or in the conference begins to speak, we'll see them full screen, but they will see everybody else in a matrix. Again, you have to decide in your conference profile how you want it to set and decide what's appropriate for that conference. So you may have a profile that sets presentation mode, and you may have a conference profile that doesn't set presentation mode. That allows things to be very flexible. If I have some older video endpoints that potentially could dial in, I may want to check this box, so I send my content, my H239, as a scaled scaled video out to those endpoints. Handy way to get the older endpoints into a call. Same layout says that every square on every endpoint will be in exactly the same place. From a continuity standpoint, that can be very handy, so that every week everybody's in the same place and you know where to look to find the guy in Austin, Texas, maybe. It's really a warm and fuzzy thing to be able to look up and see everything in the same place. Makes people more relaxed in the meeting. Up to you if you use it. Can be very handy. Lecture mode is another mode where no matter who's speaking, the lecturer speaking will see whoever is talking to him, but everyone else in the audience will always see the lecturer. Just another way to show it. Auto layouts can be very handy. It will use whoever is calling in, the number of sites, and it will decide based on criteria you can provide what the layouts will be based on the number of people that are dialed in. By default, we say yes to auto layout, and that way the system adjusts the layout for you. In some cases, you may want to force that, so you uncheck auto layout, and let's say we're going to have 9 people, and we happen to like Hollywood squares. Well, here would be the Hollywood squares layout, and that would automatically force it. If if we only had 3 people dialed in, then only the top 3 layouts would be areas would be filled in with people. The rest would be blank. So that might not be good utilization of the screen, but it may be important for your environment that you're in. Most cases, we're going to leave auto layout checked, and it will select whatever is the best appropriate layout. Audio settings. Echo suppression. Notice it's not echo cancellation, it's echo suppression. So he's out there trying to reduce the echo that's coming in from an endpoint. This does not make up for good room design. Good room design is first and foremost the best way to eliminate echo. This is a mechanism to try to reduce that echo that might come from the endpoint. Keyboard noise suppression, where we have clatter of people typing at the keyboard. This can help reduce it in some cases. Audio clarity is another way that we try to upscale the audio quality coming from an endpoint, if we can, if we're allowed to, within the bandwidth that's available, to improve the audio quality and the overall quality of the conference. Skins. We actually have background skins that we can specify here. and